Good afternoon, everyone. It's Tom Sydney Bushnell, aka Numbers, here from the Tom Number Show and from Psych.Club. I've also got my new channel, which is on Locals, which is News with Tom Numbers. So every few days I'll do an update looking at the papers, trying to decode what's going on. But I've got a really great guest with me today. We met last month at Mark's brilliant event in Manchester, and there's a picture out on Telegram and on Twitter of Gareth. So I've got Gareth Icke here with me, and he's serenading me. Well, it looks like we're serenading. So it's kind of a moment in time. I've got my 88 t-shirt on, and Gareth's just playing the chords. And how are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Yeah, when you sent me that picture, it did make me laugh because it's exactly what it looks like, isn't it?
It is. It does. It looks exactly like that. It's like, whoever took it, I thought it was really well done. It's like just two similar minds meeting, and just like, yeah, it was really good. So
it was a cool event, actually. Yeah, because I didn't know what to expect. Like, Mark had come down here to the studio, and he said, "Oh, you still playing?" And I was like, "I'll be honest with you, mate. I've not picked up the guitar in 3 years because the world's gone mad and like life changes, doesn't it?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, come and play this event." And I thought, you know what, sod it, I will, just so I can just dust off the guitar for the first time in a few years. And I really enjoyed it, actually. It was really. I'm glad he asked me.
Well, I'm not blowing your own trumpet, mate, but I thought you did really. I was really impressed. I've never seen you play anything musical before, and you and Anya, Lily, both of you, she sang great, and I was like, oh, we could have a little truther band going here,
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Well, that's what it kind of, they went for in the 60s and 70s, didn't they?
Yeah.
Although, obviously a lot of it was, controlled massively, but that whole kind of protest movement was quite big. And then you had like the last 3 years where you had the biggest attack on freedoms ever, probably. And there
Can you hear me, buddy? You frozen for a second.
Oh yeah, you've frozen as well. No, I can't. Yeah, you're still frozen as well. Oh, what a nightmare.
I can hear you now, buddy.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, yeah. I think you was saying about how they used to do it in the 60s, and then you
yeah, and then you have like the last 3 years where you have like the biggest attack on freedoms, and then all that basically happened was all those so-called rock and roll stars and anti-establishment folk just started banning people from their gigs if they didn't conform, which is kind of quite funny, really, when you think about it, just how far they've sunk.
Yeah, everything goes in cycles, isn't it? It's like they showed us then, and then it's ramped up now. So any plans to go back on you got any other gigs coming up, any other speeches, other things, people in the UK come and see you?
Well, I was meant to be in Europe tomorrow, actually. There's an event today, but I'm filming all day today, but there's an event at the European Parliament, a protest where people are getting up and able to speak at Parliament. And then there was meant to be an event in Belgium tomorrow, but it's been pulled quite late on, unfortunately. But I was meant to be going out there. Sometimes you just get a feeling, and so for me, I'm normally one of those people that gets my tickets early for travel because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
But I just had a gut feeling about it, and I just thought, because I haven't got the money to be losing the travel money. I was like, I'll just wait, and I'll get it last minute because I get a feeling that something's going to kick off, and it did. It got pulled, unfortunately. I'm not sure why, but I would have been there. But then I've got a couple of gigs in. I'm playing a Jam for Freedom festival in August. That should be really good fun because 5 times August, Brad, he's coming over from the States and performing. He was really good throughout the COVID era with getting some protest songs out there, because I know it sounds silly, like someone just playing a guitar, what difference can that make? But it
all
does
the difference in the world, buddy.
Well, yeah, that's it, isn't it? Because some people will sit and listen to someone performing for an hour, a bunch of songs that are saying important things and messages, but if someone stood there for an hour and talked to them, they'd be like, oh, let's just switch off, I don't like being lectured or whatever. So it does have a purpose, for sure.
Yeah, it definitely does. Well, even the frequency. I did a show with your dad back in October. I was in California at the time, but we filmed it. I guess he was somewhere in the UK. And I thought, yeah, I'm sure he was at home. No, he would have been on the Isle of Wight. But the big theme that we were talking about frequency, and how that really is kind of the key to reality and is reality. And music is all, frequency, and it can touch people's soul. I can't even remember the lyrics of what you played, but I know if I could enjoy it, I was like, yeah, That's brilliant, you know. So I
Thanks,
can't remember it. I'm sure it's on video. Well, Mark filmed it. It hasn't come out yet, but I'll, you know, then I'll remember. But at the time, I was like, yeah, I felt good, you know. So I enjoyed it, and I think that's why people do love music, and if it can be encoded with high vibrational messages, then I think all the better, you know.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think the fact it was in a monastery as well, like that building, was incredible, wasn't it? And whatever people think of religion, I'm not a religious person at all, but those buildings are built, you know, in places for a reason. So there's something very, very powerful about them, whether or not, you know, you're into organized religion. But yeah, it was a great event, and I really, really enjoyed it. But the frequency thing's interesting because I was out in Germany years and years ago when I used to be a sportsman. I was always injured. It's one of those people who was always injured, but I was always too boneheaded to ever sort of take a break. So I just play through injury and just make it worse. And I ended up going out to Germany for some treatment. And it was a treatment on my back.
You were a soccer player, weren't you?
I played football, yeah. I played football for years, and then I broke my tib and fib in the end, and that was the end of that. But
what level did you play to? I think I've seen something about beach soccer, but did you play
I played football as well? Football I played as a kid at Portsmouth Football Club, and then generally a local level, really, not too high, because I had a bone wasting disease as a kid, so my passing of medicals was never going to happen. But in terms of beach soccer, yeah, I played for England for 5 years, so I got to travel around the world playing against different countries, and it was kind of a bit of a weird experience, because the thing about beach soccer is that they, for whatever reason, I guess because they're trying to build the sport, you end up playing in crazy places. So, you know, playing on beaches in Israel and Azerbaijan and places that you'd never go on holiday, you know. So it was kind of quite a cool experience in that sense. But yeah, I was out in Germany getting some treatment, and it was kind of quite an alternative place generally. And they had a guy playing, I want to say a harp, but it wasn't, but it was like a big stringed instrument. It was that kind of vibe. And it was in 432 hertz. And I'd never heard of that whole 432 thing. But honestly, mate, I just felt amazing afterwards, just listening to this guy. I was just like, oh, mate, what the hell, whatever it is with that frequency. So then I just started recording my songs in 432 from then on. And I found it made a big difference. In terms
all of your works in 432?
Yeah. So it's funny because I went into the studio and I said to the guys, who were quite straight edge, like lads, but, you know, really good, like producers. I said, so I want to, you know, do it in 432 hertz rather than 440. And they kind of looked at me in the way that, oh, fucking no, Ike's off on one again. All right, go on then. But we'll humour him because he's paid to record. And then they did say afterwards, actually, mate, like, yeah, that's weird. Like, that's a different vibe. It's got a real different energy to it. And
where's your music? So people can listen to it. I want to listen to some 4.3 hertz. Where is it?
If you just go, to be honest, as much as it's the devil, Spotify is the best place, really. If you just put my name into Spotify, then you've got all the songs there. But yeah, it seems to resonate in a totally different way, for whatever reason. And then when you look more into, I know people have looked into it far more than I have, but into the whole the transition to 440 and the connection within, you know, to Nazis and stuff like that, which was kind of, you know, they're generally not good news. And from what I could find, it was that 440 is kind of, it's not our natural kind of frequency. So you actually find yourself becoming slightly more agitated by it.
Right.
Which for in theory, for them, trying to get people on side was, you know, you want people annoyed and angry, and, you know, something's got to be done about it. And all that kind of stuff. So to go back to something slightly more kind of harmonious within ourselves I can't see that as a bad thing, really.
No, not at all, mate. You know what? You just reminded me of something, Gareth. So when you're talking about the 432 hertz, so people on my channel know what I'm called Tom Numbers, but new viewers, when I talk about numbers, I'm talking about the order of the alphabet. So A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. So therefore, you can attach a numerical value to each letter and hence words. So if you just do simply something like 432 hertz, so hertz is 77, which actually comes to power. It comes to Christ. It comes to vibrate. You know, so you're not religious per se, but, you know, the Christ consciousness, etc. All of that stuff. So 77 hertz is a really powerful thing. Interestingly enough, I do a lot of stuff about JFK, and I don't think what we saw was the case. I don't even think the thing that most people think is the case with JFK, but that's another whole kind of story. But one of the interesting things in it, and if this is an accurate picture, back in 1963 when he passed, above the book depository is a big advertisement, and it's Hertz. So you've got Hertz cars now. I don't know what Hertz was about then. It might have still been the same company, but the word Hertz is right above the book depository. And it's like, that's strange. You know, that's the point of JFK and Hertz is 77 and Hertz is the 432. You know, it's all to do with frequency and vibration. It's like, okay. And then I looked at it further. Mark is the one that put me onto this. So JFK gets assassinated on a Friday, and you spell out the word Friday and it comes to 63. And it's 1963 when he gets assassinated. And the day after, back here in England, people will know this around the world, but the British TV show Doctor Who got aired. It was his first pilot show. So that's November 23rd, 1963, which is a Saturday. Now, because of all the stuff with JFK, basically no one really saw it back in the UK. So what they did is they aired it the following Saturday. But the reason I think that, well, Mark pointed this out, and then I did the numbers on it. So the day after JFK dies, it's Saturday, November 23rd. Now, if you spell that out in numbers, so if you do Saturday, which is 109, comes to the word 17, comes to the word witness, comes to the word Diana Spencer, comes to a whole number of things. But Saturday, November 23rd, if you string it all out, that actually comes to 369, which are the Tesla numbers. And then just above that, like I said, you've got this whole thing of Hertz. I was like, what's the likelihood of that? And then you've got this TV show in the UK being launched, Doctor Who, based on time travel. And I mentioned the word witness, because we might talk about this a bit later about witness protection. Derek Johnson, a military guy that I know, he's revealed in the last few months, and it's public knowledge, but I had no idea about it. I don't know if you did, but apparently there's over 19,000 people in US witness protection. Like, it's a proper thing on the government website, they show it. And anywhere from 3 to maybe 6 people every day. If these people in witness protection are out and about in kind of Civil Street, but masked up. We saw Biden in a mask, you know, the other week in Ireland, in Belfast. So it's a proper unit. You know, if you've got 3 to 6 people protecting each one of these 19,000 plus people, that's a heavy duty operation. And that's just in the US. So I looked at this further, and I'd looked at it before, but it correlated with the stuff that Derek was saying. So with JFK, if you go into time travel is 125, John Kennedy. And then witness protection is 244. But if you do time travel witness protection or John Kennedy witness protection, it comes to 369. And that's literally the day after that JFK gets taken out. And the Doctor Who thing, all about time travel, is shown on the TV. And I'm not an expert in Tesla, but I find it fascinating. And it seems like some people feel that he was able to do things like time travel and manipulate the reality, etc., using pure frequency. You know, we were taken off from a 432, put onto a 440, and there's probably other frequencies that we've been put on as well. But when you come to the real harmonics, then it seems like that's when the natural state of kind of good, exceptional, out of this world stuff can be possible. Anyway, when you talked about the Hertz, that's what made me think of the building with JFK and the 369. But I find it fascinating that I think personally that this world could be way, way more magical than we're let on to believe. And we've been controlled and manipulated by these bastards that have kept it from us, you know.
I agree completely. Yeah. I think for me, just even on a real basic level of, I became a PT years and years ago, and learned more about sort of physiology and anatomy. And even then, you're literally just scraping the surface like a scratch card anyway. But even at that level, what needs to happen for you to basically get out of bed in the morning is insane.
Yeah.
Or what needs to talk to what, to do what, it's just, and it just blew my mind. It was just like this idea that something went bang and then everyone appeared. Like, I'm not having it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Because it just worked. Everything is just so perfect.
Yeah.
You know, even down to having, you know, wherever you find stinging nettles, you'll always find dock leaves. Like, that's not an accident. Like,
that's it. The antidote is immediately just on the doorstep. Yeah, next to it.
Yeah. There's, you know, I don't think we know probably less than 1% of what there is to know about who we are and where we're from and what we're capable of.
Oh,
but then I guess if we knew it all, then life would be boring, wouldn't it? I guess that's kind of part of the fun, isn't it? Is trying to actually unearth what's going on.
I hear that. Yeah, people say that about the boring thing. I think it's the unearthing of it, because I don't know. I've had enough of all the shitty stuff in life, so I'm up for the good stuff and discovering the nice things. And like you say, 1%. It makes me think like it's a huge Pokemon Go game, like a computer game. It's like, okay, if you do this move and then you get to there, oh, there might be a hazard, but guess what? You've got the doc police next to it to sort it out. But it's up to you to find out, and then you get better and better at it.
Yeah. Almost like those books you had when you were a kid, where it would be like you get a choice. My daughter reads them now and be like, if you'd want to go down that road, move to page 19, and then you sort of
yeah.
It's a little bit like that, isn't it? Like you have this free will, but there is also a structure to the game.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And I was even boiling this. I was talking to my friend Rachel last month about this, or I've spoken about it a few times. But one of the things, and this is probably another discussion on it of itself, the thing of free will, I'm thinking, if you don't have full disclosure on everything, I don't think you can actually have free will. I think it's limited, because it's not a choice, is it? It's like politics. It's like, okay, you can choose red or blue, or you can choose black or white, you can choose Democrat or Republican, you can Labour, Conservative. It's like, it's still pushing you over in that direction, So I think I hear exactly what you're saying. And I also think at some level, if we don't have full disclosure on absolutely everything, I don't think we actually really have free will. I think it's making choices between, it's the best option, it's the best option you've got. It's not, I don't think it's totally free will, but that's another.
It's a choice, I guess. It's a choice on a menu between two meals that you don't actually know what they are. You don't actually really know what's in them.
That's brilliant. That's exactly what it is. Yes,
that was the huge thing with the whole article was the idea of informed consent. Like no one had informed consent whatsoever. You can't push someone into doing something and call it informed consent. And that's what's crazy. Like, because I remember I've had like loads of surgeries. I had 8 surgeries, which is funny because that will play into the I'm a transgender thing that goes around because I've had so many surgeries. But
you're not giving a soft reveal there, are you, Gareth?
There you go. That's it. Yeah. But yeah, no, because I broke.
You are a bit pretty, actually. I've thought that. Like, he's pretty boy. Yeah.
Well, I see. That's the thing. I'm not offended by it, because if it means I'm a woman, then like women are better looking than men. I'll take that. That's fine.
Exactly. Well, I've got my left. I'm not bad looking, but I'm a bit chunky. But underneath, I'm good. Yeah.
Rugged and manly, though, mate. That's what you want. Yeah,
exactly.
But yeah, for every single, I had 2 eye surgeries as a kid. I can't remember them because I was literally a babber. But in my adult life, I was given complete informed consent, sat down, told what could happen, what could go wrong, even though there's like a minuscule, like tiny 0.5% chance that you might not wake up from the anesthetic or whatever. And I remember like they read all this stuff out to you, this doctor, and I'm all of a sudden like terrified, like, gee, mate, you're making it sound like I'm going to die. Like, what the hell? It's just a basic, like, leg surgery. But when it came to the stuff like that, just no, take it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. There was no talking through risks or anything. Literally, just give it down your neck, mate.
It was the reverse of it, wasn't it? It was like, you will, if you don't do it, you're a leper.
You're a leper. Yeah, you're killing granny, and you can't go to the pub.
Ugh. Yeah. And now is the cat's out of the bag. I mean, you and me, others knew this was a hoax anyway, but now the public have been told mainstream, not in a real overt way, but it's there if they want to find it. And a lot of people just, and now they're silent. It's like, okay. And they don't really want to talk, because you can understand. It's like, imagine if you got hoodwinked on that such a scale, then you start to see it and it's like, oh, fuck, what's this? You don't want to hear the next bit, Of
course not. You don't want to hear it. It's that whole thing, isn't it? No one wants to hear their wife's having an affair. So rather than thank you for telling them and letting them know, they'll attack you for it. You were always jealous of my relationship, you were, and all that sort of stuff. It's like that, isn't it? And at the end of the day, if you were hoodwinked by the, bloody free burger and chips to get that stuff, then, I wouldn't want to talk about it either, to be honest.
No. I will say this, though, and I don't have any evidence of this, but this might be an interesting conversation, actually, because because you probably gathered I'm a big Trump supporter. I know, you feel probably a bit different to him than I do, but that's fine. We're still, on the same path, trying to find out what the truth is really. So he obviously famously promoted it. And then we were like, why is he promoting it? Now I've spoken quite a lot about why I think he was promoting it, and I can't prove any of it. I can, there's a few things I've received in terms of, maybe I should put this caveat. I don't really look at evidence in terms of facts and figures, because I feel that they can all be manipulated anyway. So I'm far more out in the kind of esoteric consciousness realm. So if I see things in my reality that kind of manifest in my reality, in my own Pokemon Go game, synchronicities, numbers, coincidences, misspeaking at certain times, that's the sort of stuff I go to, because I find it kind of super. That's not the right word. I'm not saying it's superior, but I facts and figures on the TV and all the evidence, papers, white papers. I know people need that at some level, but it can all be manipulated anyway. So I'm far more interested in, well, what's going on in my reality, what's coming into my mind, what immediate synchronicities I'm getting. The reason I am a big Trump follower is I got real big synchronicities with him, that he was a good person early on, and I'd get him talking, he'd mention my name on certain timestamps, or would add up my name, etc. So that's where I'm coming from with him. But the obvious thing is he did say, yeah, you should get it. Now, I thought, well, if he's doing that as well, and people think he's a good guy, and he's not, then we're all fucked and it's just a mess. So I'm the eternal optimist. But anyway, I do have personal things I've proved in terms of my videos when certain things have happened, things he said, etc., that add up to, that make sense to me. But I have always thought, along with this, and I can't prove it, but I'm hoping maybe we'll see it in time. If it was as bad, and I'm not saying it's not, but if every single one that they took was awful, I feel that we would probably see a lot more death on our hands right now. I might be wrong on that. It might be just stating, we might reach a point where it's just total bedlam. I hope it's not that, but we might reach that. I'm also thinking, are there mixed batches? Are there some that were just saline, that are null and void? The reason I think this is I've seen some people, family members and friends, that have taken them, and they've taken a lot, but some of them have seemed to, in terms of their spiritual awakening, seems to have jumped up a level. Some of them have been activated from the things they're asking me, the things they're saying, and the things they're noticing. And this is after they've had this. So when it talks about altering, also, we've had a disaster in my own family. My uncle died of it. They don't want to acknowledge that, but he basically got cancer, like the rocket version of it. 12 days prior to him dying, he was diagnosed with it, and it was just bedlam. People live with cancer for years and years, but he just, boom, gone. Yeah. So we've had the bad side of it as well, but I have had family members and other people that seem to have, since taking it, and getting the boost and all the rest of it, seem to have accelerated in their awareness. I'm like, what's that about? I'm just wondering if it's not a black and I wouldn't tell anyone to get it, and I'm but I'm open to the possibility. Is it not exactly, or is there covert? Is there more than one thing? Is there something else going on with certain individuals? If it's all gene altering, could they do certain things to some people that need to go for whatever reason? Where I don't know if necessarily they're bad, but is it a karmic thing in their soul contract? And then others, if they're altering the DNA, are they enhancing it in a better way that helps them get through this awakening process? I don't know. I'm just open to all possibilities of what the fuck's going on, and I don't have to rest with it in any camp possible. I've seen both sides of it in my own family, and that's the interesting point from my perspective.
There's definitely different batches for sure. I mean, I spoke to a lady, a nurse actually, American lady, a few weeks ago on the show. She's injured, horrifically injured. But because she's kind of, she comes from a healthcare background, and so she has friends within it, and so she did lots of research, and she found the particular batch. And I said to her, like, how many people is it responsible for the deaths of? And she was like, around about 2,500. And this was just one particular batch. So she was making the point that's what she believes. She believes that some of them are literally, probably saline, and then some of them are these dodgy batches. And I remember reading something around the end of probably the beginning of 2021 actually, where there was a series of batches that were these enveyors, because obviously you see the batch numbers on Veyers, that they were
What's an enveyor, Gareth? I don't know what that is.
A Veyer is that like injury awareness database in America. We've got the yellow card system.
Okay, so it's an acronym. Okay, right.
Veyers,
yeah.
So they put the batch numbers, and these batch numbers show up time and time again. But they also show up, interestingly, massively over proportionately in Republican states.
Really?
Yeah, which I found kind of quite interesting, really. I mean, I don't support either side really in terms of politics, but if I had to pick a side at gunshot, it certainly wouldn't be a Democrat. So it's like,
wow.
I think there's something to be thought about that for sure. That wouldn't surprise me. Like I say, this nurse I spoke to, she said, it was huge numbers of deaths just from these particular batches.
Wow. Do you know what the numbers on it were? Have they got like the barcodes and stuff? Do you know?
She's got them all. Yeah, so I could probably dig out actually.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to have a look at it
and try and find out. Yeah, because I know that it was very interesting that there was a lot of problems with a particular batch. I think I want to say Thailand. And that batch ended
up. That's where Shane Warne was, wasn't it? That's where Shane Warne died or went.
Did he really?
He died out there. I've got. This sounds outlandish. I actually think he's gone into witness protection myself, but that's where he's supposed to have died. And the interesting thing about it, so everything's died out in Thailand. I don't know if he had it in Thailand, but it's interesting you bring up a bad batch in Thailand.
Yeah, there was a batch in Thailand that then they wanted to get rid of for whatever reason, and it found itself into Europe. And there's definitely something to that, I think, because if you're going to, my belief, I don't believe the bioweapon thing. I don't believe in COVID period. But I do believe that the bioweapon and the gain of function is the first taken, that they were divvied out in Gibraltar. They were the first place in the world.
Were they? What, is there a reason for that?
Well, I think, to be honest, Hancock, he claimed that they had a 100% uptake. It was the first place to be a 100% uptake itself.
Yes,
I've always felt that.
Yeah,
but at the same time, if you don't have control of certain batches and you just dish that out to everyone, then you take out everyone, and that's not going to fly. That doesn't work. So,
exactly.
I mean, we were out in Gibraltar recently, trying to do some. Well, that was a lie, but they apparently. Now, if you look at that as the world waiting, and you see 35,000 people all absolutely fine, loving life, it's great, then you're more likely to go, oh, okay, that seems fine, then I'll roll my sleeve up. Whereas if you see, 200, 300, 400 people drop it, and then all of a sudden, whoa, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'd risk that.
Be a delayed response further down the chain.
Yeah, in the same way that I don't think, your elite athletes, your Cristiano Ronaldos and Messis and people like this would be given it. I mean, I don't think they'd take it anyway, but if they did, I don't think they'd be given a real batch. Too much risk.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's that picture, isn't there, of Boris taking it, and it's a foldy up, injection. And
it's the same with the Queen. I mean, as if you'd give a head of state. I mean, I'll be honest, I think she was dead long before she was announced dead.
Same here. Well, they'd announced it on Sky, didn't they, during the funeral last year, when it was proceeding either from Windsor. I was in the States at the time, so I only saw little clips. But when they were moving the carriage where they're in it, the commentator dropped the mic, and he, I think under orders, said, "Oh, she's been laying in state for 4 years," and they didn't correct it. And I sent it to friends and family. Oh no, that can't be the case. It means 4 days. Well, if you're watching, say, Wimbledon, and you've got Tim Henman and Andrew Castle commentating, and one of them gets a fact wrong, they'll instantly correct it. Or 2 minutes later, someone will come back, and that, when the next talking bit after the play session has finished, the game, the point is finished, they'll correct it. If you're on a massive broadcast, i.e. to the nation or on Sky News, someone would have corrected that, but they didn't. So they did tell them, because they have to tell you. They did tell the world. People were paying attention. She's been gone at least 4 years, 4.5 years ago now, because it was when she, they said she was laying in state for 4 years. So I agree 100% that she went ages ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I've always felt that I think it was the same with Philip as well.
Oh yeah.
He'd been gone long before he was. And
Charles, look at Charles now. All the new pick, they keep saying the new king. It's like each version of Charles keeps changing. It's like, now that's Charles, but that's not Charles. You know, his face is it's discernibly different to the one that they put out last week. You know,
yeah. This is
someone playing Charles. It's a good.
But you say that you say that to people, mate, and people laugh at like the idea of a conspiracy theory, like someone like Joe Biden would have a body double and X, Y, and Z. And it's like, so Saddam Hussein had body doubles in the 80s.
Yeah,
like this isn't a new thing. And if it wasn't for that one lad escaping to Germany and blowing the whistle on the fact that there was like 8 Saddam Husseins or whatever that was, no one would even know about it. You know, the idea that you would send heads of state into pressure cooker situations, they're never going to do that. Just
no, of course not. Of course not.
Send Dave in. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. We are in a Mission Impossible movie. I said it to my sister, Julie. She realised, she saw it. I sent the picture, and she's the one that said he's wearing a mask. So you know that whole thing last week or 3 weeks ago, they showed on the TV Biden's wearing a mask, and it's like, well, what's the? So is it for, she said, is it for protection? I said, yeah, that's a possibility. There's also the possibility that he could already been dead, taken out. And there could be another possibility, you know, there could be any number of possibilities why Joe Biden, the person playing Joe Biden, is wearing a mask. And it's like, how many people are wearing masks in this movie?
Yeah.
You know, how many mask wearers are there?
That's the thing.
And then the whole world wears a fucking mask. It's a play. It's a massive fucking Shakespearean drama that we're in, you know. It's a tragedy though as well.
What made me laugh today when there was that footage, I think it was the New York Post released it, of a kid asking Joe Biden about his time in Ireland, and they're laughing at Joe Biden because he didn't seem to remember it. It's like he probably didn't, because the fucking probably didn't even go.
He wasn't there.
He wasn't there.
He wasn't there.
Yeah, he's not forgotten. He just never went.
Yeah, he never went. And probably a lot of that footage they film in the studio anyway. And then they get the double out. All right, now we're in the front of the press. You know, it's all cordoned off. You can only get a few, and then put the mask on, and away they go. But apparently, I've not. Well, I say I've not seen one. I'm sure I have. I've not seen someone reveal or take their Mission Impossible mask off. I've seen some things online, and they look, you know, they look very realistic. But I've heard from some people that have seen them. They said that you would not know. You just wouldn't know. You know.
That's terrifying, isn't it?
It is. It is.
You don't know what's going on. You find your wife like taking a mask off to have a cigarette. Oh fuck!
It was you, that dodgy chick from 10 years ago. You got a mask and she's worked her way in. Oh fuck! Oh dear. We're in the movie, man.
We are, mate. That's the thing. Like they live. Well, he said it, didn't he?
Yeah, that was on TV. I saw that last week. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a documentary, mate, for sure.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is. And how far does the rabbit hole go? You know,
I think it goes even further beyond anyone's comprehension, if I'm honest.
I think you're right.
But that's one thing I think actually that's kind of quite positive, because I'm like you, like you're an eternal optimist. I am to a certain level where I will try and find positives in situations where actually there probably aren't any. And you look at the last 3 years, I mean, geez, you're clutching if you're trying to find positives out of all that Rona bollocks. But one of them for me is that the idea of there being more going on, or a conspiracy or whatever. I mean, people are a lot more open to stuff now than they ever were before that. I mean, I saw a meme, and it was just a point of view guy driving, and there's just a cow, and it just says, I was going to say something, but it's 2020 in it. And it's it's like that, isn't it? Now, where yeah, it's a cow flying. Of course it is. The world, like, people are open, I think, to a lot more stuff. Because if you'd have said to someone like 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, oh, this is what they're going to do, they'd have laughed at you.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, oh yeah, you're going to put masks on kids and shit, and experimental vaccines in toddlers. What?
Exactly.
There you go.
But and they showed us, they prepped us. It was in all the films.
Oh, they always have to tell you.
I
believe that.
Yeah,
I believe that's part of it. What's your thoughts on that in terms of the reasoning? Is it almost like a karmic thing? Is it that if they tell you, then that, and you do nothing, that's consent?
See, I've heard that, yeah, and that seems to make sense. And there may be other deeper reasons to it as well. I mean, say for example, if we're all in a quantum simulation, which right now I kind of feel like that's probably what it is. But what that really is, I don't know, but it feels like it because of all the synchronicities I get all the time. You know, the stuff I learn and feel is all kind of external things come in my head and I see it in my own reality. And then it matches up with the newspaper comment or something on TV, or someone walks past, might be out, you know, looking at the sea, and someone walks past and says a keyword that I've just been thinking about. And I'm like, okay, thanks. I got that, guys. Thank you. I'm on track. So yeah, I think there's that thing with consent. If they tell you, if you don't do anything, that's kind of that's a passive, that's an acquiescence. It's tacit approval. And also, it could be that whatever is said, you don't say anything. You don't use your voice, because voice is, you know, it's an instrument. Voice is actually love. It's 54. And so when you speak, you're giving out love. Create, actually, vagina. So birth, 54 as well. Love. You know, that makes sense. And the French is 54. You know, that's known famously as the love language. And I think it is. So when you speak, you're manifesting, because manifest is 77, which is Christ, which is Hertz, which is vibrate. All these words come to the same value. So when you speak, whether it's a bad thing or a good thing or a neutral thing, it starts to manifest. And if you just hear it and don't say anything about it, then you're allowing that to kind of land on your kind of petri dish of growth, of possibility, of quantum growth. Whereas if you stand up against it and fight it, or just override it with another possibility, that's when that reality manifests. You know, you've got your individual reality, so everyone's in their own heads, their own universe most of the time. You know, we're constantly thinking, asking and answering a set of questions, and we're in our head most of the time. But then we have this chance to talk one-on-one, so we enter this other space, and then you've got the global thing going on. So I do think, yeah, consent allows it to happen, whether if people just kind of acquiesce. But I also think, and I think that's kind of what the good forces are wanting us to do, is to stand up and say no. And if we say no, or even if we say yes, yes is far more powerful than saying no. But if we say yes to something new, i.e. we just can annihilate all the shit that's going on, and we say yes to a common positive human cause, I think we could grow and create anything that we want to. And I think the key is to get everybody, or as many as we can, because then if we're able to get, the reason all this stuff has happened is like all the bad shit's gone on because a few kind of have created it, and through trickery and magic and misdirection and fear and bloodshed, they've got everyone else to just say nothing. And then the power of the masses have helped create that reality. You know, things like legal fiction, they're all just words. They're just concepts. They're just shapes. They're holograms, aren't they? And everyone obeys it. It's like the 2 meter space thing. 2 meters. Oh, don't do that. Put a mask on. So all that stuff was a kind of a showing of what can be created, and we created this silly nonsense for 2 or 3 years. But I think now, I think part of the silver lining of COVID was to allow people to wake up, and it was kind of in a safe way. I mean, I can't speak for everyone's stuff on COVID, but for me, I thought it was a really positive time. I know there was all the shit going on, but if we could have been in a third world war, like if Hillary had got in, you know, a lot of us, you and me, your dad, loads of us probably all be locked up and in clink or gone, you know. But we're not, we're still talking. All right, you get irritations with bans and restrictions and all that stuff. But whatever was going on behind the scenes, it was a time for people to reflect, time for people to have a think. Most people didn't have to go to work. And if they did, they could do it from home, or they could take the breaks off and get, you know, 80% through furlough schemes. But it was a time where they could just sit back, pick up the guitar, become an artist, get a new relationship, create a new one. Some people either separated or they came together during that time. And I think it allowed people, if they took it on the positive side, to create new realities for themselves, new futures for themselves, because the constant rat race actually got shown for what it is, and it's unnecessary. Probably 90% of jobs, and no disrespect, but most people's just punching in on, you know, clock it. It's a slave system. You go in, you're occupied, you can't think about reality, you can't think about what your life is about. We're going to give you just enough to keep you alive, bread and circuses, then you get pissed at the weekend and back in on Monday. And people hate that, you know. But we'll give you enough tokens to get your food and so you can live. You have to deal with all these irritations. But COVID, particularly the first 3 months in England anyway, was bright sunshine. You could go out as long as you wanted. Boris said, "Oh, you can't go out." I was like, "Well, fuck it, I'm going out for 8-9 hours a day." I mean, I go out, a couple more. If I want to go back and forth, I would. But I just did the reverse. And people had the same chance. It's like, well, do you want to think? Do you want to write a book? Do you want to paint? Do you want to just relax? Do you want to just sleep for 3 months, get your body back? I think there was a really good side to it. And I think it is. I think COVID in a kind of more esoteric, conscious way is showing people what the shit's been going on. This is what they would do. Are you going to keep permitting it? And I think they keep poking the bear. They're like, right, we're going to increase it. We're going to make this more and more nonsensical. But I think it's done in a kind of safe, most of it in a kind of a safe way. It's visual images on the TV or in the newspaper. We're told stuff. But the reality is everything's still going on. And people can, if they want, take the chance to do or be themselves that they've always wanted to be, or go in a completely new direction. But I think the options and choices are there. That's what I feel anyway.
I mean, I tried to find some positives in it, in the sense that I got, with my first daughter, I missed her first words, the first steps and all that sort of stuff because I was working. And I went from that to being able to just hang out in the garden with my kid. So that, that was a positive. But then at the same time, I was watching the village that I was living in. I watched 2 out of the 3 pubs go under, and and stuff like that. I was watching people lose their livelihoods, and it was like shit.
Yeah.
Furlough was an interesting one for me. Furlough was a compliance tool. That's all it was. Because if you didn't give people that money and you told them to shut down their business or not go to work, they wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Well, no, I can't do that because I can't afford the mortgage, mate. So jog on.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I think it was James Dellenpole described furlough as the longest, most drawn out redundancy campaign in history. It might have been him actually who said that, or I think it might have been Hitchens.
Yeah, you can't argue with that. Yeah, it was. There's so many things that did go. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, the village I was living in at the time in Derbyshire, that just 2 out of the 3 pubs went under. But another thing actually is interesting because you talk about an opportunity. So because I've got 2 little ones, we end up going to like farms and stuff like that a lot. I mean, it's not very rock and roll, but it's what you do. And there were certain places throughout that whole Rona period that were just fucking Nazi bastards, right? So you just don't go there. Like, fuck off.
And then they make themselves go bankrupt.
Yeah, and they did. And then, but then there was other places. There was other places that were, because I think most parents, like even the bedwetters generally, they drew the line at the kids. Yeah, all right.
The bedwetters, that's the
ones that wear the mask and the visor and the marigolds and all.
Oh, those, yeah, the
bedwetters.
Yeah. The hazmat suit guys.
Yeah, I mean, some of them, abuse their kids with masks and bullshit, but a lot of them are kind of like, no, all right, kind of, I know people like this, right? They went out and got 3 jabs, but they're not jabbing my teenager. So it's like they care more about them than themselves. And so, you get those people, but most people were like, no, we're coming to a farm, we're bringing our kids don't need to know. I mean, my daughter, she's nearly 5, she hasn't got a clue what COVID is. If you said COVID to her, she'd go, what does that mean? What does that word mean? So we just kept it away from her. And so there's one particular farm that we would go to, and they were fucking great. Like, there was no bollocks. They did the absolute bare minimum to basically not get their collar felt by local authorities, whatever. And it's funny, like last month, they've expanded. It's huge, this place now. It's got loads of new stuff going on. It's always rammed. And they've just won for the 2nd year running an innovation award, right? And I looked at it, it's like, it's not innovation. The only innovation they had was don't be a dick. That was literally it. That was literally it. It was like, and all these other places are now really struggling, and some are gone, some are surviving, but barely. And it's kind of, I struggle to feel sympathy, really.
I know what you mean. I remember I came down to Bournemouth, I think it was May of 2020. No, 2021. 2021. God, fuck it. Couldn't go anywhere in May 2020. 2021. And they're still full up, all the... And I saw, you had to give a reason, like, why you'd be there and stuff, And I think the guy on the desk, we got some rapport, and I'm just going to, look at a place, which, I was looking at places because I'm down there now, but I saw him turn away like 4 people that came in behind me, and they kind of did it with a smile. And I was thinking, don't you realize that's just bad business? Like, do you not realize? And who's checking on you? Oh, the super. You're self-policing this silly nonsense, and you're all going to be out of a job within 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Don't you realise that?
That's the point.
But they were taking pride in it.
Yeah. Well, it gave some people a bit of power, perceived power they've never had before. I had an interesting because I went down to the Isle of Wight for the Christmas of 2020, and you were supposed to. He shut down for Christmas, and you were supposed to not be able to travel. But it was like, I'll do what I want. Yeah. So I went down there to see my family, and there's 2 restaurants on the beach in a place called Ventnor. It's a beautiful place, and basically they were tier 1 down there, right up until I think it was Christmas Eve. Up until Christmas Eve, it was tier 1, and then it shut everything down, didn't it? But they were tier 1. Now I was up in Derbyshire, which is tier 3 or tier 4, I think even.
I can't remember. So was tier 1 more severe than tier 3?
No, tier 1 was pretty much do what you like.
Okay.
Pretty much.
And then as it went down, the numbers got bigger, it got worse. Okay.
Yeah, tier 4, everything was closed. It was
right. Yeah.
And so there's 2 places, one called the Spyglass and one I think it's called the Mill Bay. I think it's got a different name, whatever. One was rammed and one wasn't, right? So I thought, okay, well I'll try that one then, because I'm hungry and I can't be asked to queue for ages. But they were checking the postcodes on driving licenses, right? So if your driving license wasn't an Isle of Wight postcode,
you could
then they couldn't serve you food, they'd turn you away. So everyone just goes, oh, okay. And they go back to the other place, which is rammed. So they're making a freaking killing. And you're just, like you say, you're bankrupting yourself. For what reason? I mean, they must look back on that now and think, what was I thinking? Like, what was I thinking?
Have you seen the meme about, do you know the people that would drive around in a car, the windows closed with a mask on? And that, you saw that a lot in 2020 and 2021 and hardly ever now. But then there's a meme of like, that's a guy, he's got an outdoor seatbelt. It's like just the reverse. It's like, it's just the stuff that people did. And they must, I reckon now that the kind of visual heat is off now on all that, people must be, there must be a large percentage of the population that think, what
was I thinking?
What was I doing? Yeah. And then you got Partygate. So that's the other thing. So the masses in the UK. So the thing with so the British public, most of them, the working man and woman, they'll do as they're told, but the payoff is as long as they get to take the piss out of the person that's telling them. So you can take the piss out of the monarchy, you can take the piss out of Boris and Richie, all that, but then they'll do what they're told. And that was it. And then it's like, but then they get pissed off at things like Partygate or Cummings, going 200 miles or whatever it was. That's all I saw, family members and people close to me just hitting the roof. I was like, aren't you worried about the other stuff that might be going on? This bigger agenda. But the thing that tipped them was, we've done what we're supposed to do. And then Dominic Cummings, who's one of the guys that told us, and that's the thing that pisses them off. It's like, you've had more chips than me, you've had a bigger portion than me, and we've sacrificed. That's the level, unfortunately, that the most of the people get upset about. But then they forget about it.
I think they missed the biggest part of Partygate, which is the fact that you've got all the people that have got the science on tap. They're surrounded by your Witties and your Valences every single day, finding out up to the second exactly what's going on, and they weren't fucking scared. Exactly. That was the takeaway that no one looked at. Everyone went, "Oh fucking hell, can't believe they're drinking champagne." So maybe because there's nothing to be worried about, mate. Maybe that's the whole point,
Yeah, they were showing people in plain sight that there's nothing to be worried about. Exactly. It's like when Hank got. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, exactly. There's no one more about self-preservation than a politician, and they didn't give a shit.
No, they didn't give a shit. And when and it's like when Hancock came out and said, this is, I think, a few months before he got the proverbial book. And that's the thing, they were pissed off because he's been a naughty boy, squeezed the arse of his now lover. It's like they weren't worried about the rest of it, but they'll hang him because he's been a naughty boy. And but a few months before that, he says quite clearly, he said, well, we've not had any cases of the flu for 18 months. It's like, I know, we knew that before. So how many people woke up to that? I don't know. But it's like, we just rebranded the flu into COVID, and the majority of the deaths were that. It's like, old people do die at the end, unfortunately. But they had to tell you again. And he told everybody. And still, I wonder how many people that, saw that. What are your thoughts? So this week we're leading up to the coronation, the Corona Nation. What are your thoughts on that, man? I've got a few. I'll ask you. I'll get your thoughts on that. Then I've got a little question about Diana in respect to that. I want to see what you think. But
I'm not a fan of the monarchy. I've never been a fan of the monarchy. Can't stand the monarchy. The idea that someone is above others because of their genealogy is extraordinary. On one hand, if you say that a certain ethnic background is superior to the other, that's racist. But to say that you know, Charles is superior to you and me because of his genes, that's fine. That's great. Have all my taxpayers' money. I don't get it. I don't get how low your self-esteem needs to be to take the knee to people like that. But that's just me.
I agree, mate. I actually thought so. How old was I when Diana died in '97? I was 22. Yeah, 22. And I thought back then, oh, this is a great time for the monarchy to go. Like, I'm not for it. I'm against it, but I you know, it's not always in my head. I don't, you know, think about it every day. But I remember at the time I was like, yeah, because that was quite of a low ebb for them, public opinion. And I actually went to Kensington Gardens on 2 occasions. I went with my friend Becky and I think Abby was there. And it was actually, I don't know if you went there, but it was actually, the thing I got out of it, it felt kind of like this consciousness, this spiritual feeling, because everybody, whether they were, you know, whatever race they were, whatever denomination, belief system, whatever it was, everyone was coming to this kind of focal point, and they all had this feeling of outpouring of love for this person that they didn't know in this realm had died. And it was really moving. I've got to say, it was really moving. It was really energetically positive, and it was a really powerful experience. And it went on for about a month. But the interesting thing about that, so in numbers, if you do Diana Frances Spencer, it comes to 175, which actually comes to the same value for the word consciousness. And I didn't know that at the time, but I've worked it out since. But I've got to say, it felt this, you could feel the consciousness of the place. And it was really high vibe. You know, like the feeling we had in Manchester at the Abbey.
Yeah.
It was that all sort of stuff mingled with kind of respect and mourning for this person. But it was uplifting. I didn't feel any darkness there at all. I felt real, because it was the people. They loved her, you know, and I could feel that. It was palpable. You could feel that feeling of love and consciousness and respect. And I didn't know about numbers back then, but I remember the feeling of that with Diana. So in the realms I'm in the kind of circles I talk and see people, a lot of people are thinking maybe. So just for example, I mean, I say I don't believe Diana's actually dead. I think she's a witness protection case. People are saying that she might pop up at the wedding. What am I saying? The coronation. But in your studies, have you ever come across the stuff about, I mentioned at the beginning about witness protection? Do you think that's a possibility? Have you looked into that? Do you have any evidence on that, or do you think that's
not massively, mate? But like I said earlier, because of the way everything is now, nothing would shock me anymore. If I bumped into Diana at Asda, I don't think I'd be as shocked as I would have been 5 years ago.
That's true.
I'm at that point now.
Yeah. I get you, man. Yeah.
But no, I don't know.
Okay. Have you seen this picture? I'll show it to you. So I did a decode on this last year, and Sly Stallone, Sylvester, put this out on Instagram. I did a show on it the other day, but I'll show it to you as we're talking. So I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Is that clear enough? There's a bit reflection-y, but so he's got this cap on. So this is Sylvester Stallone, and he's saying heading into the storm. It's like, well, what storm is this? So he put this out about a year ago. But this is because it's the coronation week. This has been doing the rounds again. But then you've got this. She's got a Q on his hat, but then you've got this woman. You see that woman? There's a woman behind.
Right.
So if you can, should I zoom it in or out? Can you see?
Covering it. She's hiding herself.
That's it. She's hiding herself behind a book. Now, I think that's all a deliberate photo. The whole thing. You know, the Q, the slice alone. The woman covering it. So at the time, I and others thought that could be Diana, and the numbers on it add up indicate that it's Diana as well. But I'll show you a picture and I'll just get your thoughts on it. There's neither way, but it's interesting to look. So that in the top corner, you got the picture of sliced alone. Hang on, there you go.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, hang on, there, is that better?
Yeah.
So you've got Diana, but then you've got these other images of her. I'm trying to get rid of the reflection.
Oh, doing the thing with her hand.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Now, there's a possibility that could just be a beautifully doctored CGI and they've created it. Or maybe there's a possibility that that might be her or someone that looks like her. But it's like, why are they showing all that? That's the thing. It's like, why are they showing that? So another thing about this thing with Q, and the reason, so the way I discovered Q, I didn't even know what QAnon or Q posts were. I've always been a fan of the Trump family from a distance. I met Ivanka Trump synchronistically, serendipitously, accidentally in Manhattan in 2015. Got a picture with her. There's a whole bunch of codes on that, which I won't go into now. But so I always liked the Trumps from a distance, and I knew he was getting heat as president, but I wasn't bothered because it was US politics. But then Corona came in, I was like, fucking hell, what's going on? So I remember when Boris went into quarantine up in number 11, he's probably in a studio somewhere, but he said the key to the coronavirus puzzle is to stay indoors. I was like, so that means you can either watch TV and veg out or you can research. So I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. But something led me to this. Now, where is it? Oh, I thought I had the screenshot of it. I don't. But it's on. You can go on. I know Wikipedia can be edited changed by people, but this statement has been there for a long, long time. So something prompted me in my head. I don't know what Q posts, none of that stuff. It's just the first week or two of lockdown. But I start looking up stuff about Diana and her funeral. So it's recorded officially that her funeral service started at 9:08 in the morning. And I was like, okay, that's a bit wonky. I was like, it should be 9 o'clock, maybe 9:30, maybe 9:15 at a push, but still that's a bit, it's uniform, but still strange. So 9:08, what's that? And then either that evening or the next day, I'm like, 9:08. Okay, what's 9 plus 8? And I'm not Tom Numbers, and I don't know, don't know what gematria is, nothing. Like 9 plus 8. Okay, 9 plus 8, that's 17. Okay, that's interesting. What's that? And then either again that same time or the day after, I started thinking, what's the order of the alphabet? Because it just kind of wouldn't go away. It was this conscious thing, And I was like, so the 17th letter of the alphabet is Q. I was like, okay. And then I remembered the thing of Althorpe, and she's buried on this island, supposedly. There's a little island with kind of a path through it, which looks like a Q. And then you got in Hyde Park, the water feature, which is kind of an ellipse with a line through it. And that's kind of a Q. But then something told me to look up JFK's Eternal Flame. And that's a fucking massive Q. That's a huge Q. And I actually thought it was Junior. So I didn't even know JFK Jr. had been scattered ashes at sea. I didn't know that. I actually thought I was looking up his burial plot, but it was actually his dad's. It was Arlington where it got moved to. But that's a huge Q. And I was like, hang on, this is weird. 2 people that die in, well, actually 3 if you count both the Kennedys. They all die in strange circumstances, and they're attached to this Q. What's Q? And then I'm listening to Boris. Well, he's gone in now. He's gone inside. But I'm listening to the stuff in the UK, but I've just turned that off. And then I'm listening to Trump each night, and he starts deliberately misspeaking. So he's taking on people, Fauci and all the press, and I'm like, what's he doing? And then they're taking the piss, and I can't spell words properly on Twitter and all that. And I hadn't been following his Twitter account because I knew he was getting heat. You couldn't escape that, you knew that, but I wasn't following it. And then I was like, hang on, what's this about? And then this video popped up, and it was a video of Diana. She'd recently separated from Charles, and the press were trying to make her a superpower couple with John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr., with JFK Jr., John. And it's a 2-minute clip. Well, it's 144. Well, it's 144 actually, but they put them together. And then they talk about this possibility of meeting in Trump Tower. So they don't show Trump, but they mention his name. And I think they had dinner somewhere else. But I was like, this is weird. Trump's talking, he's Corona. This is going on. Massive, biggest thing ever. 2 people died that strange circumstances. And I still think the Q at this time is JFK Jr.'s Q. I still hadn't connected the dots and realized it was his dad. So these both got Qs on their burial, like markers on their plot. What's going on? And then that's when the numbers started coming. I started working out Trump's misspeak, and then I started stringing these sentences together and words and working out the numerics. And then about a week or two later, Trump does this thing in the press conference. Oh, Q-tips. I was like, that's the earbuds, because we don't call them here, you know, in the States as a brand. And then after that is when I found out about the Q drops. I didn't even know what they were. And then I got in touch with people like Jack Kidd, who told me all about it, and Charlie. But I just remembered that, sorry, I didn't remember. I discovered this thing, but it was intrinsically on my own. No one was telling me, go here, go there. Someone was, but it was coming into my head. And consciousness is 175, which is Diana. And I had that experience when I went to where she died, you know. Anyway, that's how I came to this stuff. Because of something external, or it felt external, which was coming into my mind, and I kind of just had to follow it, you know. And I spoke to you a little bit about it when your dad, we did the show, and he was, because he kind of expressed this in a different way, but this download of reality, it's like a download, and that's the thing, it's like download. Even the word download is 88, which is Trump, Scotland, purple, it's all these things, but 88 miles per hour is in Back to the Future. That's why I wore that T-shirt.
Got you. I did wonder.
Yeah, so that's where it comes. You know, that's why I resonate with it. But I was like, what is this thing with Q? But then going back to this picture, I'm like, why is Sylvester Stallone? Why is he? What's he doing with this picture of a Q on his cap? You know. And there it is, and the Diana, the stuff with the, so people think that Diana's married to Trump. That's what they say, you know. And the title of her book, it's very faint to see, but it's actually cool. It's actually titled "Every Last Secret." Every last secret comes to 197, which comes to Diana Spencer Trump, and she's hiding behind a book, and book is 43, which is wife, and green is the color that's being shown. Is 49, which is yes. So there's all these codes that add up to it. It's like, why are they doing that? I mean, it could be a psyop. There's a possibility of that. But it's like, why would they do, with such a small amount of people, why are they bothering with you know, psyops? Why they bother? Why, if it was a psyop, if they got the ability to just put things in my head and come up with this narrative, and even if they did, that's pretty high advanced tech if it's nefarious, you know. And I've never felt it is, because I see it so much in my life, and all it's done is actually just brought positivity and hope for the future. And, you know, anyway, that's my experience, and we all don't agree on stuff, but that's why I figured out the stuff with Diana and the Q. But anyway, it's interesting on the fingers, you know. Someone's gone into a lot of work. There's either something to that, or they just, you know, or they put a lot of work into doing that to misdirect people. But anyway, I thought I'd share it. So
no, cheers. It's interesting. I've got to run though, mate. It's two.
We got to go. Yeah.
Interview, yeah.
Yes, of course.
It'd be cool to do this another time though, mate. When I'm not got to run.
Yeah, I'd love to, buddy. Yeah, let's do that. And yes, you were going to send me a link. I can't remember now what it was.
It was the batch numbers. I'll try and find these batch numbers.
Yeah, please, man. Yeah, and that I've sent you. We'll talk on email. Yeah. So anyway, Gareth, thanks, buddy. And how can people find you?
Just head to iconic.com, and I've got a bunch of shows on there, or for now Twitter, until I eventually get banned, which I'm sure I will. But
no, you're all right, man. I think you'll be all right now on Twitter. So we'll see. Yeah.
Take care, mate. Enjoyed that.
Gareth. Cheers, buddy. Likewise. See you soon, man. We'll do it again soon. Cheers, Gareth. Bye.